Alright guys, for this trek into the DIY Tech, we're going to go back to the ZD550 frame. And so somebody had a question about the mounting spot for the flight controller. And so in the original design of this, if you see the frame build video, if you watch that, you'll know that I mounted the flight controller on the top. And so you'll see those holes do not have a pattern that's recognizable to anybody that has mounted a flight controller on any quadcopter before. So these, I don't think, really are meant to mount the flight controller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mount the flight controller where I believe it was meant to be. And so, because these frames just come with assembly instructions. So you can see down there, we've got a Holy Bro PDB, right? And so that's a 30-30 mounting pattern. By this time, you're going to note that this there's been a lot of modifications to this frame. And so that it's not a stock ZD550 frame anymore. So just take a note of that as you're watching this and you're like, that doesn't match my my frame. This is so these are, and I'll demonstrate these for you in a minute. These are retractable landing gear. And so I'll show you how those work in a second, and if I find it, I'll provide a link in the description so that you guys can find what I use to set these in there. But yeah, let's go ahead and go to the bench, and I'll show you on the bench what I'm talking about with because it was a question that somebody asked. What's the spacing on the mounting for the flight controller? So here we go. All right, so what we're gonna do is, as part of this ongoing transformation, we're gonna move these antenna ports around. So we're gonna move the video antenna here, 900 megahertz here, and then these guys are gonna come out of this slot here. And then we're going to move the GPS to the center here so that there's no offset. So in the flight controller and the configuration, I've got it set up with an offset so that the GPS is in the center, but we're going to move that to the center and then just give it that Y offset. But what we came to see, let me put this back up here. What we came to see is this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and off camera, I'm going to loosen these nuts here, and we'll see what the pattern looks like underneath there. All right, here we are. You're probably going to hear a lot of, I took all the lock nuts off of here. So I have lock nuts on this side, and I just have a cap set screw or a cap hex coming up from the bottom through there, and a bunch of nylon washers to insulate, because we do have, this is carbon fiber and it can be conductive. So just as a precaution. So you might hear a lot of hardware dropping here, or not, we'll see. Okay. So as you can see, I have some nylon washers there as well. So all you have here is so that's all there is under there. So that looks like a fan, a pattern for a cooling fan. On the back side, and you can see I've got a little Kapton tape here to insulate, and I'm tapping off of the PDB's 5 volts. We also have current and voltage on there that can go back to the flight controller. But we're going to use the standard cable setup to do that, to bring that back to the flight controller. But you can see there, all we have is that 4 screw bolt pattern. It's not a, so it's a 30-30, right? So those of you familiar with FPV will recognize that. So we'll give you the exact number here. So scientific as we get. So you can see there. So that's a 3030. And again, I apologize for taking so long to get this this video done. I know somebody asked this in the comments quite a while ago. So it's a 3030. There is no 2020 in there, which is one that is popular now, or I think it's popular now. It's a smaller bolt hole pattern. And so you can see, yeah, that's a regular flight stack. So this is a FPV flight stack from another, an older drone that I have around. Maytag. That's the 405 standard. Yeah, this one hasn't flown in a bit, but you can see that that's the whole pattern, right? So that's and now we have some slots that are a slightly bigger hole pattern, which is curious because the Pixhawk that I'm aware of doesn't use that. The interesting also because I have this adapter that would fit that. So if you guys want to see, let me know in the comments if you guys want to see this adapter. I can put this adapter on the website for you guys to download. But that one would fit in there. What I'm planning to do with this is, so you guys know I'm doing a lot of, making a lot of changes to this drone. What we're going to see next is we're going to use, so this is the a 3DR flight controller. So this 3DR, yeah, and even we have active cooling going on there, right? So we have a heat sink, and then we have a tiny fan that's going to be blowing the air through there. This one gets pretty hot when it's running, so we're gonna use that. But this carrier board and everything. So you see this, the Zero OEM adapter. This is the Control Zero OEM. There is an easier one to use based on the same architecture. If you go to the 3DR site, you'll see it. This is not an advertisement for them. This is just the one that we're experimenting with currently. So this guy is going to go in there, and I can see that the whole pattern is probably going to match up. We're going to verify that in a minute. So I'm going to put some screws through there and set this up. So cool thing about this is we're not going to need any damping for this guy. It's all done in the firmware and the config settings. When you go into Q ground control, I'm using PX4, so it's going to be Q ground control for us. So this one does the damping on board. So we'll see how that works out. Yeah, we'll see how that works out. We're going to hook this up, and yeah. All right, so I'm going to put the screws through there off camera, so you guys don't have to suffer through that, and we'll see you in a few seconds here. All right, guys, as you can see by the angle of the screws, it's pretty close, but not exact. So we're going to take a round file and make the slots so that the screws are, they're perpendicular to the surface here. But yeah, that gets us pretty close though. So obviously. Obviously, those screws weren't exactly intended for this carrier board, but it's pretty close to getting us there. So yeah, so you can see we can get that just about in there without doing that. So we'll just file those out just a tiny bit, and yeah, so there you go. So there it is. And this is gonna be very cool because I'll have enough space, it looks like, on these screws to where maybe I can get a cover screwed in there to cover the rest of this when, not blocking the airflow, but to cover this so that nothing falls into the fan and so forth. A little bit more protection for this as the SD card is just sitting out there. I'll do some cap down tape across there to hold that SD card in and keep it from wiggling out with the vibrations. And then the other thing that I want to do is bring from here. So we have some USB connections there. We do have a USB plug or USB micro USB there that we can plug into. But I'm not going to be. You can see I have some custom side plates that I designed and printed out, and so we're going to have that all the way around to keep any large pieces of debris from coming in there. I also am using it to mount the XT60 connector that's back here. So we have that XT60 connector. I'm going to bring the USB either through here or through here, probably through right above the battery connector. I'm going to have the USB go right in there and have an extension that comes into here. And we'll take advantage of these connections here since they're available and connect to those USB connections there. I'll show you here. Yeah, these along the outside edge there. And so we'll go ahead and take advantage of that. Have a cable coming from here to here, so we don't have to pop this thing open every time we want to do firmware upgrades and get data from the logs. So the flight logs can be downloaded through there as well. And so this does have some standard Pixhawk connections to it. So we'll be using those. These are the motor, but these are the motor connections here. So this is how you bring your motor signals out. That goes right into there. So it's an interesting board for development. So I would recommend this one. The flight controller's been doing pretty well in other builds, so we're going to try it out in this one. And I almost forgot. Almost forgot to give you the measurement on those slots. So let's put these screws in the center, and it's a nice symmetrical setup there. And these are, yeah, that's what I would have predicted. It's 47. Yep, it's 47 by 47. If you put these in the center, to the center of the slots, which will give you the geometry. So there you go. All right, so I hope that helps. So you can see now where the what size is the mounting holes on the inside for possible spots that you could put your flight controller. So there's going to be a lot going on with this frame, and it's already going away from the off-the-shelf ZD550. But I hope if you do have a ZD550 frame, that this will help, because the documentation from the manufacturer and the videos that they put out are, they can be a little bit hard to follow at times. So I hope that this is helping. And yeah, I'm glad you guys are on along for this adventure as this drone continues to, evolve into something more than what it started as. The next videos are going to be so we have a 3-axis gimbal on there that we're going to get working. And oh yeah, I forgot to show you the landing gear, so I'll show you the landing gear here before we sign off, so you can see how that works. I forgot to do that. All right, here we go. I'm gonna plug her in, and then we'll use the servo tester in there. All right, just got power. Barely have enough room here. Hopefully everything clears. But we're just going to use a regular servo tester there to do that. The ESCs are not happy because we don't have a flight controller plugged in, but here we go. And there you go. And so that's how that works. It just goes to the extent of the servo signal, and they automatically start and stop. I'm sure some of you have seen this before, but for those of you who have not seen the retracting landing gear, there it is. And you can see, like, you know, when we have the camera hooked up and it does a 360, the landing gear is going to be out of the way for the camera. So yeah, that's it. That's the whole deal. Again, I appreciate the time you spend with me, and we'll see you in the next video.